Hi, welcome to Wetpixel Live. My name's Adam Hanlon. I'm the editor of Wetpixel, and today I'd really like to thank Backscatter for sponsoring this episode. Backscatter have a huge range of underwater photography equipment that they will ship around the world if you want it, and they've done us the kindness of sponsoring this episode. So thanks very much to them. Um, as always, I'd like to welcome our regular contributor, Alex Mustard. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Adam. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Um, and what I thought, well, normally we ask questions. I ask Alex a question, he avoids answering it. That seems to be the format. So I thought today I'd stump him by not asking him a question. And I think much of our audience are aware that Wetpixel runs a very active Facebook group where we are fortunate enough to have a large number of people who share wonderful images. And it's a great place to go and check images out. And what Facebook allows us to do is it allows us to actually extract the most talked about images from the past 28 days. So we thought we might make this a bit of a regular feature.
Not simply who got the most likes.
No, it's not. No, it includes comments. It includes the phrase really is engagement, which would obviously be basically so. And I think this is a good point in that a very controversial image might well attract a great deal of comments, and therefore would rate high in the rankings. So it's not simply a question of likes or dislikes for that matter. It's a question of engagement.
I guess also that's probably quite a good measure because the way social media works is that if you have lots of followers on social media and you post in a group, particularly if your friends, your followers on social media have the same interest as you and the group, you'll get far more likes than someone who maybe loves underwater photography, but all their friends on Facebook aren't underwater photographers.
Yeah.
And they post in the same picture in the same group. They're bound to get less likes. So I guess it's a nice way. The engagement is perhaps a slightly fairer measure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think there's lots of different metrics you could take about this, but it's the one that Facebook provides us with, and I think that's probably a reasonable way of looking at it. I also think it makes it quite interesting from our perspective in that we're not simply discussing, we're not going and saying this is the best image. We're saying this is the image that attracts the most attention, and that's interesting. It may be the best image, but it may also attract attention for other reasons. And I think that's something that we can probably all learn from and extract good information in terms of the imagery that we share as well. So, it may be worth just briefly mentioning. I'm aware I'm hogging the conversation here a bit, but it may be worth just mentioning as well what my vision for the Wetpixel Facebook group is and always has been, in that I see it as being a gallery of imagery, and I'm so I encourage, and I'm very pleased to report that people share wonderful imagery on it. It's a never-ceasing source of inspiration for me, and I think for other people that view it as well. But I don't ever. I'm quite strong on making sure that we treat it as a gallery. I'm not keen on people putting big gifs and things saying how much they like an image, which sounds a bit kind of conservative and fuddy-duddy, but it's more that I want to see people's pictures. I don't want to see great big gifs of stuff saying thank you very much or whatever. And equally, I don't allow people to. I remove posts that are obviously commercial or anything like that. So the idea is that people can scroll through it and enjoy the experience of looking at wonderful imagery. And I think by and large we sort of managed to achieve that. But it does take quite a lot of moderation. It takes quite a lot of effort. And so please, if you're posting and you're finding that you're running foul of the rules, please get in touch. Let me know. Anyway, so what do you think of the image that got the most attention in the past 28 days, Alex?
Well, I've got them on my computer, so I'm assuming that's the top one in the list, which is this whale shark here.
It is, yeah.
You might have to introduce them and tell me who it's by.
It's shot by Jerome Kim.
So I would guess probably taken in the Philippines, and I'm looking at it being covered in all these sort of black bits. I don't know if they're remoras, but I know the Tubataha whale sharks are very commonly got that kind of black marking around their mouth. So
yeah, I think it is Tubataha.
I think this is a classic whale shark angle. I think it's one of the best angles to shoot a whale shark from, which is this top-down view, simply because it shows the scale of the animal, but particularly it shows off their beautiful patterning.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a cloudy day, this shot works beautifully as a black and white picture
Yeah.
because you can process the picture so that the water is jet black, and then you've just got this the fantastic pattern of the shark coming through is as white dots on it, and it looks really, really beautiful. And it's a shot that lots of photographers have chased down the years, and many have got. I like this one as a slight variation because it's a sunny day shot, which means it's got those very attractive beams going onto it. I think the beams, I think it probably wasn't the flattest, calmest day, and so the beams aren't wonderfully defined.
Yeah.
I think it would be stronger with slightly better defined beams, but it's nothing the photographer's done. It's just the weather on that particular day. Maybe also the depth of the shark. It was maybe a little bit deeper in the water as well, which would have stopped the beams being really well defined.
Yeah.
But I do like the blue atmosphere of it a lot. I think leaving it blue, not trying to white balance the shark, not drawing around the shark in Photoshop and sucking all the color out, or in Lightroom, brushing over it and taking the saturation down. I think that's really nice. I think, there's sometimes pictures are over processed. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And I think this picture has a lovely restful atmosphere to it, being all in the kind of same hues of different blues. So yeah, I really like the picture a lot. I mean, it's a classic shot, but it's very well executed.
It's very much a kind of, you can imagine on your wall, couldn't you? It's it's got that sort of graphic the sun rays of the graphic on it. I think just echoing what you said, I think it's really well processed. I mean, it's well shot, but I think it's also really well processed. I like the processing very much. There's a great temptation to make shots black and white, and in blue water they're not. So yeah, I like it very much. Wonderful. And the image that attracted the second amount of attention, I don't know how we're going to find this, for the past 28 days is this image of a mother and baby dolphin shot by Lewis Burnett, which I believe was shot off Australia. We had a bit of a debate about this, and we understand are not captured dolphins. Obviously,
maybe that was a ploy by the photographer posting it, knowing that if everyone thought they might be captive, then they would get him more engagement and bump him up the Wetpixel ranking for the month. Even though no one knew we were going to do this.
Yes, absolutely. It's already gamesmanship. Yeah. Oh, we've got this lovely picture, very charismatic picture of a mother and baby dolphin.
Yeah, and the calf I think really makes this picture. It's the eye contact, the light on the calf just looks fantastic. It really jumps off the picture. I like the fact it's shot with rectilinear lens. Although the lens isn't quite wide enough to get all of the mum in, which is a bit of a pity. I think actually the flat horizon and the flat proportions of the lens of the picture I think work really nicely in the shot. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of a foregroundy shot. It's just kind of, it's all about that baby really, and then you've got the mother as the supporting act. Yeah. There's no depth. There's no really interesting surface or light in the background. Dolphins aren't the most colourful creatures, and this is a fairly drab scene as a result. But I think that the two of them look really good. I mean, I know that we were just saying it's so nice to not see the shark converted to black and white. But I think with so little interesting colour in here, you've got kind of slightly grey purple dolphins and a grey blue water. It's almost crying out to be processed into black and white. Yeah. Where I think these two dolphins, because the light on them is quite flat, you will get a very nice effect from them in black and white. I think they could be made to look very beautiful. And you could either then make the water darker or lighter than them in your processing, which I think would really make this picture really pop really nicely. But yeah, lovely encounter, very well taken. Dolphins, you need to have a fast shutter speed in case they start whizzing around. I think this picture would benefit from the aperture being closed a bit. But, if I was going in to shoot dolphins, I would sacrifice some corner performance in my picture for shutter speed to make sure I kept them sharp. But you can see, it just gets darker and smudgy into the corners, this one. So, yeah, needed slightly better aperture, really. Otherwise, it's got that kind of feeling of having a vignette on it, even though it doesn't.
It's quite interesting. It's shot with a Sony A7R3 with a Tamron 1728. So it is a rectilinear lens, but in Icolite housing. And my understanding is Icolite, actually, they don't have a particularly big dome. So obviously you've got a full frame Sony camera here with the rectilinear lens with a relatively small dome, which is probably exactly what you're describing here.
Yeah, I think it's that standard trap that a lot of new people to underwater photography fall into. It's buy the most expensive camera you can, and then skimp on all the bits that actually make it perform underwater. And a much cheaper camera, a crop sensor camera with a really good lens and dome port, would outperform this in image quality every day of the week at a much lower price point.
Yep, yep. I would have to say, what you mentioned earlier, I'd really like to see it with the blue lightened up, in black and white converted with the blue and given into high key. I think that would be a really interesting combination. But it's a great moment, and it is beautifully shot.
Oh yeah, no, I really like it. I just, as always with these critique sessions, if we just sit here going brilliant, 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 there's not much point watching them. So
yeah. So the third image is Marcus de la Haye's picture of the tuna factory in the Maldives. And he mentions that he took it while freediving. And I see you've liked it, Alex.
Yeah. I like it because it's a very cool spot to go and do a dive, just because it's very different. It's right by the airport in the Maldives, so a lot of liveaboards do it first or last dive of a trip. When I run groups there, we often do it twice on the first day, just because it's as a photographer's dive, it's very productive because there's just a super abundance of subject matter. It's a messy dive because it's a place where the tuna factory discards old carcasses and things, and as a result, it's attracted huge numbers of fish. This big gathering of large stingrays. There's hundreds of moray eels there and loads of schooling fish off the side.
Yeah.
It can be very difficult to shoot up and around the jetty like this, where they throw the fish in at Fish Factory, because there's just such a mess of both food and fish at times. I think one of the keys there is actually to time your shots well, and particularly with the schooling bannerfish.
Bannerfish, yeah.
The key thing is when they throw the bait in, they all tend to rush as one, and that's the time when they actually get themselves organised. The rest of the time, because there's food everywhere, they're all just milling around in a mess, and you want to shoot them at the moment they start to. There's a splash, and they all start rushing towards it to see if there's any food for them. But I like the energy and the colour of this shot. Yes, it's a mess, in terms of overall composition, but it's an exciting mess. Not every picture has to have every fish in perfectly the same in perfect formation for the image to be strong. And I really like the energy of this. I'm presuming it's taken with fairly basic camera equipment. It's taken without flash. It's been white balanced, and the watercolor is lost from the background. So it's not technically the best that you could have got from a situation like this. But I think with relatively simple camera equipment, it transports me right into the heart of the experience, and that's what photography is about. Really, it's about making pictures that people want to look at and sharing what you were feeling at the time. And I feel exactly what the photographer was feeling here, and as a result, really, really love the images. Which is why, I'm not a big one for browsing the things on there, just because I haven't got the time at the moment, particularly. But when the one comes up on my feed that I like, I always try and click a like, because I know people appreciate it.
I think the color palette's quite interesting on it, because obviously the bannerfish have got these orange tails, and I think that to me, to some extent, and that's obviously partly with the way it's been processed as well. I think that really makes it for me. Otherwise, it would be quite a drab scene. And you've got these orange tails that just lift the scene from a monochrome sort of.
Because it's probably only 2 meters 6 feet deep. And it's actually quite often quite a stirred up site. Shooting available like this and white balancing is a pretty good way of capturing it, really.
And then the fourth most engaged image, or how we're going to phrase it, is this picture of these two morays from Dahab, shot by Haim Agranati. And it's shot with a GoPro Hero 4. So it's a portrait of two morays. I think obviously the first point is there's quite a lot of character of the two morays being together in the hole. That's always a bit of a crowd pleaser, because of the sort of nature of the relationship between them, I suppose, or what people assume is the nature of the relationship between them, and also, of course, the colours of this particular moray. It's very eye-catching and very distinctive, I think it's
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe also people were very impressed that with a GoPro, which is primarily a filming camera rather than a stills camera, that you were able that the photographer was able to get a sharp, characterful picture from very very basic and very tiny camera equipment. And I think
yeah,
that
yeah.
it's it's a great achievement with that very basic camera equipment.
And with probably essentially not much light, and not so you managed to keep the colours. I would imagine it must have been fairly shallow.
Yeah, yeah. And and sites like the lighthouse at Dahab, you've got a lot of marine life in shallow water. These white-eyed or pepper morays, they're good subjects to shoot in that shallow water.
Yeah. So
So
again,
it's good effort with very basic camera equipment. I think the difficulty is when you've already got that camera equipment, you haven't got lighting, you don't have the ability to isolate the subjects from the surroundings. You don't have the ability to choose better camera angles that would give you a more dramatic picture. Because if you went underneath them and framed them against open water, for example, they'd be silhouette because you haven't got a flash to light them up with. So I think it's a very very pleasing shot given the limitations of the equipment.
Yeah, probably is pushed the limit, pushed the equipment pretty much as far as it's going to go. Really, I would guess it's it's well done, nicely done. And the fifth and our final image for today is this picture of a sperm whale taken by Jay Clue at a slightly funny angle.
Yeah. Well, first of all, looks like they had an absolutely incredible day for going out with whales.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolute mill pond glass. Which I think is really fantastic. I don't understand for one second why it's not rotated correctly. I don't. It's not got a perfect reflection that you maybe want to make it look like a butterfly or something by presenting it like this. The reflection of the shape of the sperm whale is not even close to looking reflected. And again, that nice arm of the photographer, that doesn't also reflect well. So I don't understand why I could understand why you might tip it like this because you've got this perfect kind of butterfly reflection, but it's not a perfect butterfly reflection. So why are we seeing it like this? I think it's an incredible day. I'd like to see the photo from the guy in front's camera. I think that might be a beautiful picture, and maybe all the engagement of people going, can you turn it to the right, please?
Yeah,
busy. I turn my phone to look at me, turning away from me.
Yeah, busy doing this with it.
One of those ones where you get your phone and you it's the wrong way around. So you hold it from that sort of angle, and tilt your head the rest of the way to get it the right way up. Yeah. So it's a beautiful day. The colours and the light in the picture are fantastic.
Yeah.
I like the texture and the interaction with the sperm whale. I like the diver in the picture, actually. And I was jokingly saying I want to see the other guy's picture. But I like, actually, this interaction because it's got more of a story than simply a big black lump, which, is, sperm whales are not the most attractive shape. They're quite a characteristic shape. But, they're not the most beautiful whale. I think when they've got their mouth open a little bit in certain frames, they can look really nice. And groups of them can look stunning. But on their own, they are a little bit of I'm trying to think of a polite word for what they look like, but they're not the most photogenic shape to fill a frame.
They look like upside down bottles. Yeah.
No, but when they're in groups, they look incredible. When they're sleeping, they look incredible. When they're cruising at the surface like this, I think they benefit from having that extra photographer in. But I'm here already. It's like when I hurt my neck and all the Wetpixel lives. I was able to slide. It's taking me back to those days. This picture. So it's a head turner, but not in the way that it's supposed to be.
No, I think it's a lovely image. I think it is a lovely image, and I echo it.
It's just.
I echo exactly what.
My screen now in preview. There we go. Oh, look, it looks great now. Can't see that, Adam, but I can. Yeah, it's really nice rotating.
I think, and I agree with. I like to echo the idea of having. I think having the photographer in the foreground is creatively makes it definitely improves the image. I think it's the right thing to do, and I think it is well shot. I'd say, echoing what you're saying, Alex, is it doesn't the turning to 90 degrees doesn't do it for me.
Maybe on the video you should have rotated it when I rotated it here because it looks fantastic rotated. It's it's a lovely interaction shot. You know, the whale is clearly chilled out. The other photographer in the picture is, you know, okay, they are finning pretty fast,
Yeah,
but
you can see
they don't seem to be stretching the whale out. They're not, you know, and you know, it seems it seems like everyone's happy and enjoying themselves. I know whenever you have anything to do with whales, there's people will come out of the woodwork and say, oh, you shouldn't be swimming fast like that by a whale. You know, you should let the whale come to you. This photographer was clearly trying to get to the whale, but it's not. The photographer in the picture isn't swimming towards it. They're swimming parallel to it. Yeah. I think, you know, and the whale doesn't seem to be stressed.
Yeah.
So, but I'm no expert on sperm whales, but it all looks pretty happy to me.
I think one of the things that possibly quite a few of the captions in the images we've looked at mention the fact they were taken relatively recently, and I think possibly part of the reason why people possibly feel very engaged with these images is that we're not managing to get out ourselves as much as we would be normally. So when we see other people going out and catching, it's either extreme jealousy, which is possible, or it's just this idea of, you know, thank goodness that someone's still managing to get out and get these pictures where we can't. So yeah. First of all, thank you all very much for sharing all your images on Wetpixel on the Wetpixel group. As I say, it's a great source of inspiration for me personally, and I'm sure lots of other people would echo that. And we're going to do this as a relatively regular feature, as much as Wetpixel Live is a regular thing. We're going to do this a relatively regular feature, so we will be kind of reviewing and looking at images. Because I think, you know, it's a worthwhile exercise and hopefully is beneficial for people watching this. Thank you very much, Alex. When people are looking on social media to see your images, where's the best place for them to look?
Traditionally, Instagram. It's now the end of January, and I still haven't posted a picture this year. But I promise I've just been way too busy. But yeah, I promise to get back on the social media, sharing images again soon, because I really enjoy sharing pictures. Just I have not 1 minute spare in the day at the moment.
And Alex Mustard 1 on Instagram. So if you go on there, you'll see his and drop him a like, and we can that would be good.
And some critique.
And some critique. There you go. You get your own back. Fantastic. And as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to thank Backscatter again very much for sponsoring this episode. I'd like to thank you all for watching. And please feel free to add any comments about the images you've seen in the comment section below, or alternatively drop us a like if you enjoy it. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you again soon.